It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Jeff Jarvis has the week off. No, it's not what you think. He's actually in Germany right now and can't join us. But we do have Paris Martineau. Also, Mike Elgan joining us from Mexico. And Emily, her new name is Forlini, but you might know her as Emily Drybelbus from PC Magazine. Now, I have to warn everybody, it's the day after the election. We have a new president-elect. And the entire topic of this show is how a new administration is going to work with Silicon Valley. What's going to happen to the tech we're interested in, AI, EVs, big tech in general, under a Trump administration? That's the topic for the day. If you don't want to hear any politics, you might want to skip this show. But if you're interested, we're not taking a point of view. I think we're really talking about what's going to happen to cryptocurrency and others in a Trump administration. That's next on Twig.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 793, recorded November 6th, 2024, the aftermath. It's time for Twig This Week in Google, the show we cover the latest in the Googleverse. Really, we're going to cover today, and I guess I should give you a content warning, the impact of a new United States administration, we are the day after Election Day, on the tech sector. And I think there will be a massive impact. Don't worry, Jeff Jarvis is not here. He took the day off to get drunk. No, he is at CanCon or ConCon.
ConCon, not in Cannes.
French girly show.
He is traveling and not able to be with us, but yeah, Paris Martineau's here. It's nice to see you. Paris Martineau from the Information. She writes for The Weekend, covering youth issues. Hi, Paris.
Hi.
Hi. Lovely to see you. Also
Lovely
with us
to
replace Jeff, Mike Elgan, who is in Mexico, in El Sargento, Mexico. His newsletter, machinesociety.ai, gastronomad.net is his website. And he is, of course, on Mastodon at Mike Elgan. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Leo. Thanks for having me on. This is a wonderful day to have me on to complain about all things.
You are in Mexico, and it looks like the ocean is quite blue where you are.
And I'm just going to stay here.
On the Baja Peninsula. It's very nice. Turn your mic up just a little bit if you can.
Okay, will do.
Mike, give us as much as you can.
Okay.
I want to welcome Emily Forlini to the show. You may remember her as Emily Drybelbus. She's been on the show many times before from PC Magazine. Now with her, that's your married name, Forlini.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here. Interesting topic for sure.
Well, I know one of the things you cover is EVs. And so just in case you slept through yesterday, the president-elect Donald Trump will take office January 20th. And that, I think, is going to make a big difference in a lot of things. But of course, our focus is the tech sector. EVs for sure. He is, in fact, in his victory speech, he actually name-checked Elon Musk, called him a genius. And I think Elon Musk is going to have a huge role to play in the new administration. So that's going to change things quite a bit. Plus, and I think this might be a little bit underreported, but not only is Trump now pro-Bitcoin, I'm sure J.D. Vance is, but the crypto industry donated a lot of money to down-ballot contests. And I think I saw the number 153 new members of Congress who are pro-cryptocurrency. So now you have, and no wonder Bitcoin went up to $75,000 in the last couple of days. Now you have a very pro-crypto government. When President Trump was speaking to the Bitcoin conference, he said, I'm going to fire Gary Gensler, the head of the SEC, who has advocated for regulating Bitcoin as a security, to a standing ovation. So much so he said it again. He liked the sound of that. So did they. So I don't know where to start. Maybe we go through you one by one and just your overall impressions. A Trump administration, while it would be bad, I think, for a great number of constituencies, is it good for technology, Paris?
I mean, I think it's a broad question. I think that there are a number of tech leaders that have bet quite a lot of money and time that it will end up being good for them. I mean, chief among those is Elon Musk, who's poured tens of millions of dollars into this race, if not hundreds of millions at this point. And it seems to have paid off for him. You also have seen an outpouring of support from venture capitalists like Andreessen and Horowitz. Sean McGuire at Sequoia has been a staunch Trump supporter. The boys at All In, chief among them David Sachs, have been huge Trump supporters. And it seems not entirely unlikely that someone like David Sachs could end up with a cabinet position or an ambassadorship out of this, which I think will be interesting to see how that shapes U.S. policy.
Yeah, Sachs spoke at the Republican convention. He's the host of the All In podcast. And so it's nice to see a podcaster in prominence. But he also, Trump will have a Republican Senate. So cabinet confirmation will presumably be automatic. So anybody that the president puts on the cabinet will probably get in. And that means David Sachs could walk right in. So it sounds in general like it's not too bad for tech. I think it's probable that we'll see less antitrust regulation. You think, Elon? I mean, Mike Elgan.
You think Elon Musk comes out of the side?
Confuse us because we both have a space program. Yeah, I think I think it'll be interesting, at least in one dimension, which is that if the new administration is very pro AI, removing regulatory shackles from AI, and very pro Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, then the server shortage, the sort of, we have tech companies talking about and investing in nuclear power plants to deal with all the energy saving for those of us who turn off the lights and try to avoid using too much electricity, be washed away by the enormous demand for power for these massive data centers that are going to be required to, that's going to happen anyway, even with a less tech friendly administration. So that's one dimension that we have to be concerned about. We also, in the area of energy, Donald Trump is very anti-wind energy.
Yes, unaccountably.
Yes, they kill whales or something like that.
Cancer and kills whales.
Something, yeah. And so
birds.
That could be a problem. So I see a sort of a coldness toward renewable energy sources, and a friendliness toward things that gobble up massive quantities of energy. So that could end up being a bit of a problem in the long term. That's not necessarily directly a tech story, though. So who knows? Who knows what is going to happen? Because one thing we do know, take TikTok, which is on the rundown, and I hope I'm not putting that cart before the horse, but TikTok is something that Trump was very much against, and while he was president, made moves to get rid of it. Then when he was running for office, he saw that the Biden administration was anti-TikTok, so he thought maybe I can pick up the TikTok vote by being pro-TikTok. So TikTok itself, ByteDance, the company, is thinking, okay, we have a pro-TikTok president, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think his pro-TikTok stance was a campaign tactic, and I don't think that says anything about whether he'll be pro-TikTok or anti-TikTok once in office.
The information exclusive. TikTok sees Trump victory as app's best hope. The clock is ticking. I think it was January 19th.
It's talking.
Or talking as well. Yeah. It was January 19th that TikTok had to resolve this by selling themselves.
Something I think is interesting here is, one, I feel like the January 19th date has always had kind of an asterisk near it, because of course TikTok is going to challenge this law.
As they have.
And they're hoping to kind of get an injunction or something along those lines. But something I think is interesting about this reporting from my colleagues, Juro Osawa and Kaya Uref, is they reported that TikTok executives were hoping to discuss with Trump's administration about alternatives to a sale or a ban, but they've also floated that they think Trump could take other steps that would blunt its impact if he isn't able to, convince Congress to repeal the ban, such as just Trump could tell the Justice Department, don't enforce it. And I guess that's a viable strategy. I hadn't really considered that as a way to get around it, but I suppose that would work if the Department of Justice isn't going to come after TikTok for not complying with this rule.
Well, it was a bipartisan, this is one thing Democrats and Republicans did agree on, is that TikTok's data collection is an issue, a national security issue and a privacy issue. So are we thinking that he's just going to come in and continue to change that perception and that everyone was just spineless on that?
Well, I want to ask the question, if TikTok is so powerful, did they actively promote a Trump election? I mean, it's probable that Kamala Harris would have done the same thing as Biden has done, which is to ban TikTok. So look, TikTok's supposed to have this great influence on the American electorate. Is there any evidence they tried to push a Trump election? I don't think so.
Well, they've been fighting for their life a little bit, everything's a PR move now. And so what I've seen on TikTok is I'm getting ads from TikTok that say, we provide accurate information for this election, your election source. So they're always trying to rebrand and I mean, we did Trump's campaign was on TikTok, Kamala's campaign's on TikTok, and of course there's a million people talking about politics on TikTok. So it's a very politically active, and TikTok's trying to be seen as a reputable place to have that discussion. So that's what I've seen.
The beauty of social networking algorithms to the owner of the social networking company is that there is no evidence to be found because the algorithms are secret. Nobody knows how many people saw what. But I think the larger picture is that friction between the United States and China is a near certainty with Trump in office. He was talking about imposing 10% or 15% tariffs on all goods entering the United States. It seems unlikely that he would do that because that's crazy. That would decimate poor people in the United States who rely on low-priced imported goods. But he's talked about that. He likes tariffs. He calls himself Mr. Tariff. So if there's tariffs for imported goods, it's going to be a trade war with China. And TikTok will be an easy and available pawn in that game with China. So I just think there's almost no chance that Trump won't hammer or get rid of or ban or force a sale of TikTok, given the likely friction between China and the United States that's coming.
That he's already gotten what he wanted out of being on TikTok, which is a younger vote.
That's right.
Well, he'll do whatever he thinks people want him to do is kind of my perception on this, just given that he did completely flip on the TikTok issue. And nothing changed besides
when you say people want him to do, I don't know if it's what people want him to do. I think it's what's going to get him the most advantage at any given time.
It's a better way to say it. It's a better way to say it. What do you think will resonate? I don't think anybody
influences him. I think he's sui generis.
He's in a really interesting position now because assuming that this is his last term, he's got Republican Congress completely. He's got a Republican leaning Supreme Court, and he's going to be the president. So there's he has free reign. Reason to please anyone.
Right.
Yeah, and he can't run it again, right? He's maxed out. This is our last Trump term. So it'll be interesting to see how he takes that because there's no running again.
Right. What about antitrust regulation? One of the things that was interesting, I think everything, by the way things were or even are today is up in the air. It's gone. Because it used to be that you had both the left and the right going after big tech for different reasons, but they at least agreed that big tech's too big. Now with I think a Trump administration, I wonder if antitrust actions are just going to disappear. Obviously, Lina Khan is going to disappear. The FTC will probably not be encouraged to go after big companies now, but Trump doesn't like Google very much.
Well, I think antitrust action may be based on Trump's past actions. as a political tool. So he has gone after Amazon because of Jeff Bezos and the Washington Post. This is probably why the Washington Post didn't endorse Kamala Harris, out of fear of retribution through antitrust action. So I think we can look forward to antitrust action that's somewhat selective and based on, who's kissing the ring and who isn't.
Bezos congratulated Trump today for, quote, an extraordinary political comeback and decisive victory, which isn't saying anything, right, but it is currying favor. And I wouldn't expect any business leader at this point to do anything that's going to harm his or her business. And so you probably could make the case that people like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk were betting that Trump would win.
For sure. And also Jeff Bezos has his rocket company, which, the government would be his customer. So he's got to worry about that one too.
Yeah. I had an interesting perspective on this. So yeah, I used to work at Amazon when Jeff Bezos was CEO, and I had a lot of respect for him at that time. I saw him in person many times at like all hands meetings and things like that. And he earned my respect in the way that he approached issues. And I had no real reason to like him. He was this distant CEO, and I just naturally was like, I think he's smart. And I remember at one all hands meeting when he was sparring with Trump. These meetings, by the way, took place in a stadium in Seattle, like a huge stadium. And so they would have like Amazon going around the lights, and it was nuts. They'd have bands and like people, it was just crazy. And there was one where he directly talked about Trump, and he was very confident and a little antagonistic that like, oh, if Trump wants to criticize us, go ahead. Like in democracy, you criticize, you accept criticism, and you should never be afraid of that if you're doing what you want to do. Mm-hmm. And I definitely felt like he was confident to stand up to Trump in that moment in a very public way. So I'm a little less personally convinced that he was doing this just to curry favor with Trump. I'm not sure if he's completely changed, but a lot of people in Silicon Valley have gotten more right-leaning or kind of gotten more interested in Trump. So, but that's just my personal opinion when I did hear him speak directly about Trump in a way that I don't think that's on the internet or anything.
Andy Jassy said, current CEO, congratulations to President-elect Trump on a hard-fought victory. We look forward to working with you and your administration on issues important to our customers, employees, communities, and country. I'm sure this is, I don't know if Tim Cook did the same thing, but or Satya Nadella or Sundar Pichai, but I'm sure this is.
I believe they did.
This is the smart thing to do, right? Yeah.
Yep.
I do think that Andy Jassy's announcement deserves a little bit of an asterisk here, because he has a particularly unique experience when it comes to sparring with Trump and the Trump administration. Under the last Trump administration, Amazon Web Services, which at the time was what Andy Jassy oversaw, was awarded a $9 billion pension contract with the Pentagon. Yeah. And then Trump basically took it away because he was mad at Jeff Bezos and the Washington Post and Amazon generally. So I do think that Andy Jassy, of all of these CEOs, is the one that probably has the most experience with the potential ramifications of angering President Trump.
Yeah, and CEOs like, Tim Apple and Jassy, of course, Bezos is no longer CEO of Amazon, but CEO types and company owners are not at liberty to exercise their own personal, opinions about these things. They have to represent the shareholders and the value that they hold in the company. And so, congratulating Trump doing all this stuff it's just what a CEO has to do, I think.
You're talking about the Joint Enterprise Defense and Infrastructure contract, which is a $10 billion over 10-year deal with the Department of Defense to kind of update their cloud computing. Oracle, it was originally considered gift-wrapped for Amazon until Oracle contested it, citing the National Defense Authorization Act. And then August of 2019, weeks before the winner was expected to be announced, President Trump placed the contract on hold so that Defense Secretary Mark Esper could investigate complaints of favoritism towards Amazon. It was then awarded to Microsoft, but as far as I know, a judge then halted Microsoft's work on it, and it's still kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
So the Department of Defense did not get its Jedi cloud at all. And
this is where I'm like, will a Trump administration make any difference? Like, it's just this classic runaround where it's like this big hubbub, and then in the end, it's just like nothing happened.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a good question. It is a different time. And I think in 2016, Trump maybe not even expected to win, but now has had a lot of time to prepare.
The other thing is that I think Trump cares about the things he cares about, and he'll sort of offload the stuff he cares less about to other people. And it depends on who those people are and so on. So we don't know. We don't know what the Trump administration looks like yet. I mean, we have some general idea, but we don't know, for example, military contracts and things like that, how involved he's going to be in those sorts of things. We just don't know. And
you're right. He doesn't care about the things he doesn't care about.
I think broadly, we know he's a fan of big business. So whereas maybe Kamala Harris, he's a businessman, or at least he was on TV, and he has some businesses, not as big as Amazon, but yeah, he's a fan of big business. He'll probably cut tax breaks to businesses, which will make Amazon and others very happy. He probably won't do things that Kamala Harris talked about in her campaign, which is more about funding startups or maybe some other players in tech we could see. I think the cast of characters we have now that I write about and we talk about all the time, we will definitely have the same cast of characters unless something random comes out of the woodwork like ChatGPT. But the government is probably not going to support smaller tech. I mean, that's kind of my opinion. Probably just continue to support the big guys. So maybe it'll be some continued golden age for big tech.
Well, we also live in an age. I mean, the future is coming upon us very quickly, and everything's changing very, very, very quickly. And we're entering into an era of supranational oligarchs like Elon Musk, who are individual people who have power that's comparable to a nation state. They have their own space programs that control electricity grids. They have incredible power. And one approach that Trump could take now that he's in his hopefully final term is that he may see these external powerful people as kind of threats to his own power, and may seek to sort of kneecap them the way Putin did in Russia. And so, again, I think we're in completely new waters now, and we really don't know what's going to happen. But I have the feeling that his love affair with Elon Musk is going to be temporary, because Elon Musk himself,
I agree,
is just too powerful. He just controls too much, and Elon Musk's power is much more global and exercisable. If of course, the president of the United States has enormous global power, but to exercise that power is much more difficult and consequential. Whereas Elon Musk can just send an email and shut down every Tesla in a country, or they can use their satellites, SpaceX satellites, to cut off, satellite internet for a country or whatever.
I do think we're also going to have to reckon with, as tech industry participants or critics, with the reality of the owner and operator of a major social media platform being an arm of a highly politicized and polarized government.
Yeah.
And I do think social media played a big role in the election. It plays a big role in the way that we consume information. And now it's potentially going to be playing a big role in government through Elon Musk. And something I'm concerned about is that people are not consuming nuanced information. And there's a lot of algorithmically fed content that is not that natural discovery process where people can see different viewpoints. And that's the one thing I really would like to change in this country, is the quality of information and in education. And this type of thing makes me concerned that it's just going to continue and become cemented as an even deeper reality, where we can forget that there might be an alternative, that you don't need to learn everything on social media.
Yeah. I mean, there's news out there, I think this week, that Meta has actually got a lot of increase their numbers for engagement by using AI as part of their algorithm to increase engagement. And so the application of generative AI to increase engagement means the sort of TikTokification of everything, where, I mean, TikTok differs from other social networks mainly in the fact that it's mostly algorithm generated. You follow people, but really what most people see on the feed is what the algorithm is feeding. It's a very, very good algorithm. It's very strong, and it really shows you stuff that you just makes you want to keep consuming those pellets like a rat in an experiment. And I think that all social networks are going to get a lot more like that, even though, of course, they've all tried by emulating the feed, right? Or the, whatever they call it. They all have a TikTok-like feed, but I think all the other parts of those social networks, the text parts, will get AI-based sort of engagement algorithms. It's going to make the problem worse and not better, unfortunately. So I think the only hope is that we have to, raise our own kids to stay off it. On the plus side, a lot of school districts are banning phones in school, so that'll help a bit.
That is positive.
Yeah, I don't see any way a government can fix that. I think it's going to be it's up to us at this point to fix that. If you were the CEO of a tech company, or if you were a venture capitalist, or if you were thinking about doing a startup right now, how do you plan the next 4 years? How do you think about it? What is anything changed? Do you go ahead and do the same old thing? I think one of the problems that we have, and it's going to be a general problem, is President Trump's somewhat unpredictable, right? You don't know exactly where he's going to come down on something. Elon, you raise a really interesting point that Elon's kind of playing with fire here, because we've seen Trump do this before, turn on somebody that he was in love with minutes before. And I think you raised a good point, Mike, that could easily be Elon in his brief X stream that he did on election night eve from his plane, said that he has
on the way to Trump, on
the way to Mar-a-Lago. This, by the way, it didn't work, I guess, and he was having technical difficulties, so we went back to playing his video game. But he said he formed, of course, a PAC, the America PAC, with $118 million, according to the Washington Post, of his own money. He said it's going to keep going after this election and prepare for the midterms and any intermediate elections. He's going to aim to weigh in heavily, which is really Elon saying, I have political aspirations. Now, he's not a U.S. citizen, so he can't, or wasn't born in the U.S., I should say, so he cannot run for president. And there was a theory.
Powerful friends in government who might overturn that particular thing.
Oh, well, it could be.
No way.
I don't think he wants to be president. Honestly, that seems too limiting.
Yes, exactly right. He's got bigger aspirations than that.
Yeah.
Like, what is his end game? Because it feels like he's taking his eye off the ball a little bit with tech. I mean, if you look at Twitter and Tesla specifically, like Twitter's in a weird moment where it's declining in users, ad revenue is not coming back. So where is that going? I don't know. Tesla's at this weird moment where he doesn't want to make any new car types. I mean, there was a Cybertruck, but before that, we've seen the same Model 3, Model Y for years. They've been refreshed slightly. The S and X are declining in sales. So the lineup is what we have. He doesn't want to make the $25,000 EV. All he wants to do is solve self-driving, which is going to take years and is not an immediate product release. So with his own companies, there's a little bit of a stalling out feel to me. And then he wants to spend all this time and money on politics, and I don't know where he wants to go with that either. So to me, he's a little bit of a question mark. Just being part of the Trump administration doesn't really answer that question mark.
Well I think,
I feel like he has ambitions. There's no question about that. And
are they ambitions though, or is it a compulsion? Is it a narcissistic personality
He's
disorder?
He's as unpredictable as the president, isn't he?
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying, like, where is this going? I mean, I don't think he really has respect for government in the sense that he would be a mayor of a city. That's not cool enough.
No, I don't think he wants to govern at all.
He just wants to influence the opinion, I guess, which is why he bought Twitter, right?
Don't you think the election of President Trump is good for X, that X has a future now?
I think it's getting more and more niche, and I don't know
because it's too conservative.
It's slowly morphing into Parler, and
yeah.
Trump's Truth Social went got a significant burst in the stock market after the election.
Right.
That's a meme stock, though.
Yeah.
They've never made any money. Well, I guess Twitter's not exactly famous for profit.
I don't think Twitter is really keeping up with the video situation on TikTok.
Interesting. As much as, say, Instagram and Facebook are.
Yeah. Because there's Instagram Reels, which is okay. Like, there is some content sharing between those things.
Yeah.
I think it's just a different philosophy. And it has not really responded to TikTok.
I have to say the For You content I see on X has very much looks like TikTok now. It's almost all video.
Mine's not. Maybe it's just me.
See, that's the other thing is X is different for everybody, isn't it?
I'm a big nerd on Twitter. Like, I just use it for work, and I use it. It's almost like LinkedIn for me. So maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wonder. I mean,
at
this is, first of all, Elon can easily afford to lose his stake in Twitter. It's not $44 billion because he got banks to pony up $18 billion. So he only has whatever the difference is. It is potentially problematic because it's based on his stock holdings, particularly on his SpaceX and Tesla holdings. So he can't afford to destabilize those stocks, I think.
Yeah, I think that, X is not a big deal for Elon Musk's own personal financial portfolio. He convinced some other people to throw in, and he's probably concerned about that part of it. But I think it's mostly a means to an end. It's a way to have more influence over the national or international conversation about various things he cares about. And again, I think he's a narcissist, and I think the end game is he just wants everybody talking about him all the time. And so, I think, and Trump is that way too. So I think we
that's why you see a head-to-head conflict ultimately.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So it gets more
Obviously,
attention.
we don't know the answer to this, but I do wonder, when do you guys think Elon Musk and Trump are going to break up? Because there's
Right.
no
we should
way
have a
that this
pool.
there's no way that this happy friendship can last very long. I mean, maybe I'll be totally proven wrong, but they both seem historically to be kind of mercurial people who
I'm going to say it's going to be like Kim
aside.
Kardashian and Chris Humphries. Like, they're going to get through the TV wedding, and then 3 days later, they're going to break up.
How many Scaramucci's will it be is the question.
Yeah.
How long was the Scaramucci again? Was
It
that
was
like
pretty quick.
A couple
It was
weeks or something.
Yeah.
2 weeks or something.
Yeah.
But one disincentive for Trump to break up with Elon is that is X, right? So
X is powerful, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
And X
among
did
the people who
everything
care
it
about
could
Trump.
to get Trump elected. I mean, that was a very valuable asset.
Yeah.
What happens? One of the things that puzzled me about Musk's support for Trump was I don't think Trump is interested in EVs at all. I think he wants to promote gas cars. So, Emily, I mean, this is your beat. Why would I don't understand? You're saying is he given up on Tesla?
Well, Trump did not like Musk initially, yes, and he has campaigned against EVs to audiences that want to hear that. And to other audiences, he'll say things like, EVs are okay. I just want there also to be hybrids and other options. So he has used the word hybrid. He has endorsed it and these things. With Musk, he realized that was his single biggest tool to get voters out and to activate young men. He is not happy that, LeBron James or Ariana Grande or all these celebrities just come out of the woodwork for Kamala Harris. And Musk was really his biggest celebrity by far. So he leaned into that. Probably where they can net out is that Trump says, I'll repeal, the tax credit for EVs. And Musk says, fine, we don't need government subsidizing things.
I don't think you get them anymore for Teslas anyway, right? They've sold so many that.
You can. That's actually a common misconception that expired like years ago. I keep hearing that, but yeah, you can. That cap, it doesn't exist and hasn't existed for a couple of years. Yeah.
As long as it's made in the U.S., you can get your $7,500.
Yeah. So as long as it's made in the U.S. with also a domestically sourced battery is a big issue. Mm-hmm. And one thing I think that Musk is happy the tax credit will be repealed is that their batteries are from China. So they've spent the better part of this year being eligible and ineligible depending on their supply chain and if their packs come from China for this and that model and this and that trim. So repealing the tax credit removes the spotlight on Tesla that not all of its cars are from China, and so it can source the cheapest packs possible. So that's a big incentive for Tesla.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You're watching This Week in Google. Jeff Jarvis, who would probably be a little bit more upset right now, is not with us. He's at CanCon, which is, where is that, Paris? Where is he?
It's ConCon, and it's in Germany somewhere.
It's not in
Cannes. It's not in Cannes. It's ConCon, but I think it should be in Cannes.
If you're doing it, well, anyway, it's a
Not a conference of con people.
No conning going on.
Maybe a little conning.
Okay, a little bit. Anyway, Jeff will be back next week. I'm thrilled to have Mike Elgan here. And of course, Emily is always welcome on our shows. So we got a pretty good panel. And I'm sorry if you don't want to hear anything about politics, but really, I think we do need to talk about. And this is the perfect show.
It would feel dumb to be talking about anything else today after the election.
And I think we're doing it in as best we can, a nonpartisan way, talking about what it's going to look like in 2025 for tech companies and. The pros and cons of it all. Do you want to pick a date for Elon and Donald's breakup? I think January 28th.
I mean, that would be less than a mooch.
Yeah. It's less than a mooch. It might be the new standard. Maybe
Here, I'm going to write it down. Everyone say a date. I'm going to write it, and then on that date, I'll check in.
I feel like even at the rally where Elon made his debut, jumping around like a crazy man behind Donald, stealing focus, I think that actually, even then, the president was a little annoyed.
Well, here's the other thing is that when's the last time Elon Musk was an employee taking orders from a boss,
right?
And if he's going to be part of the government, then he's going to have to answer to a superior in the form of Donald Trump, and I can see that some sorts of friction there because usually Elon Musk does his own thing. On the other hand, Trump may just say, "Hey, do whatever you want with the U.S. government. You're the expert at cutting people."
Turn the government into Twitter is not a very good selling point.
Yeah.
But okay.
Also, Elon might be critical of Trump's work. He'll be like, why is that still inefficient? Or why are you focusing on this and that? And that might at some point become annoying and distracting for Trump. I mean, that sounds
I'm going to adjust my date, Emily.
All right, what do you got?
I am going to say by June 1st. I'm going to give him a few months.
Do you have any rationale for that? Like any
just
events?
By summertime. I think once the white shoes and white belts come out, right after it'll be right after.
You think like it's a good time to be single and maybe enjoy the warm weather.
It's going to be a hot Trump summer. So
hot
I think
Musk summer because he's
Musk summer. So I think that sounds not so good.
There might be some babies out of that one with this track
hot
record.
musky summer. Yeah. So I'm saying June 1st, right after Memorial Day.
All right.
Just the idea of that, plus the words. I'd say I'm not going to put any definitive date on a breakup or anything, but I will say I think we should check in by summer and see how tensions are, whether they're warm or not.
Yeah. Dead Pirate in our Discord says mid-February.
Everyone gets depressed in February.
Right after
It'll just get moody.
What do you think, Paris? You want to make a token bet on our pool here?
Oh, I just said let's check in.
You don't want to give a date? Okay.
No.
There's no payoff, so I guess it's okay. Mike, what do you think? How long will Elon last?
End of next year. I think the end of next year. I think it may take a little longer because I don't know. They've both got a big mallet hovering over each other's heads.
It's true. I mean, it's there might be a kind of a tense frenemies situation.
Yeah.
Emily, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how we could actually develop a real opinion on this. Like, is there any event coming up or policy that's expiring? Anyone in the Discord know?
It depends when the next game releases. The next game that Elon wants to play.
What was he playing on
Elon claims that he's a top 20 Diablo 4 player worldwide, which would require him
that's a lot of
devoting hundreds of hours to this.
How could he possibly have time for that?
He paid for that. Come on.
Yeah. I guess I'll lean
there's
more.
people in China who will grind out the gold for you.
Yeah.
I'll lean more towards Mike. I think it might take a little over a year to kind of get into it. Especially because at this point their reputations are kind of linked, and maybe they'll be incentivized to keep up the charade for a little bit longer. And
I can't speak for Elon, but I know Donald Trump knows perfectly well that there's no memory.
Goldfish status.
You can basically do anything you want, say anything you want. There's no memory. Mm-hmm. So I don't think Donald will be in any way constrained by this sense of, well, I called him a genius. Yeah. They're all geniuses until they're not.
Yeah.
All the incentives change now. And Elon is just, I think Elon is not very rational at this point, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's rational at all. So.
Well, maybe that'll be kind of spurring the next pendulum swing politically, or even in tech. Like, they're aligned now. They're going to fight like cats. They're going to break up and then kind of develop new
Elon
political
will start
camps.
his own party. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he'll decide to go in a certain direction that will take the country in a certain way.
There is a conspiracy theory, which I admit, and I mentioned it before, is a pure conspiracy theory, that the people of the tech community, like Peter Thiel and Elon Musk, knew that President Trump didn't really want to govern. He likes being the president, but he doesn't want to do the work of governing, and figured, let's get our guy JD Vance, who's definitely Peter Thiel's boy, in there. JD will end up taking some of the role of president, and we will be able to create a technocracy. That's what I wonder if that's what Elon is thinking, that it's about. I know he is, and I know it's what Peter Thiel is thinking, and what Mark Andreessen is thinking. It's about time we got the politicians out of here and let the smart guys in Silicon Valley run the place, because we can do a better job because we're data driven.
It's true, but they don't make data-driven political arguments. I mean, where was data in any of the conversations about the election, which I was really disappointed by. I would like policy to be informed more by that. I would agree in this case with technocrats or whatever we're calling them. I don't know if they just have this smoke and mirrors of how they present themselves, and ultimately they want AI to take over or something, but that would be a huge shift.
When AI is going to be the kind of wild card in all this, if it does anything more than it's done so far. I mean, right now it's kind of a shell game. But if AI really gets smart, we'll take a break. When we come back, we could talk about AI regulation. What the future is Sam Altman happy about what happened last night? That's the question. Think about it. Great panel. Lots to talk about. The impact of a Trump administration on technology is kind of our subject for the day on This Week in Google. And it's, one of the things we were talking on Sunday with Amy Webb, futurist, and she consults very big companies and governments about planning, about strategic planning. It's one of the things she said is, if it was the title of the show, you have to embrace uncertainty. And as a leader, you have to plan for uncertainty and have a strategic plan that makes sense in a variety of outcomes. So I think probably that's what Silicon Valley's doing right now as best they can. It's not like what's going to happen in the next 4 years. Our show today brought to you, I can tell you one thing. I know what you should be doing with your Microsoft support. Our show today brought to you by US Cloud. They are amazing. The number one Microsoft unified support provider, replacement, really. US Cloud is the global leader in third-party Microsoft enterprise support, supporting 50 of the Fortune 500. Switching to US Cloud could save your business 30 to 50% on a true comparable replacement for Microsoft unified support. US Cloud supports the entire Microsoft stack, 24/7, 365. They respond faster. They resolve tickets quicker for clients all over the world. You're always going to talk to real humans, and not just real humans, really smart humans, expert level engineers with an average of 14.9 years, and that's for break fix or DSE. So, it costs less, but it's also better support. It's better quality support from 100% domestic teams, so your data never leaves the U.S. And here's something Microsoft never has done. Financially backed SLAs on response time. A guarantee. Initial ticket responses are averaging under 4 minutes. And you know what? When everything's on fire, your hair is burning, and the network's down, and nothing's working, every minute counts. So 4 minutes makes a big difference. In 2023, 94% of U.S. Cloud's clients reported saving 1/3 or more when switching from Microsoft Unified Support to U.S. Cloud. You do have a choice. From Fortune 500 companies, large health systems, to major financial institutions, even federal agencies, U.S. Cloud ensures that vital Microsoft systems are working for over 6 million users globally every day. And I'm talking the biggest brands. Big brands like Caterpillar trust U.S. Cloud, HP, Aflac, Dun & Bradstreet, Under Armour, KeyBank. I mean, really big brands. Even the IT folks at Gartner have chosen U.S. Cloud for their Microsoft support needs. I saw an interview with the director of information technologies talking about U.S. Cloud. He said, and within an hour, U.S. Cloud responded with, I want to say, 4 engineers. So not only did they bring the right guys to the call, they brought the cavalry. I just felt like, wow, that was amazing. That was unlike anything I'd experienced with Microsoft in my 8 years of being with Premier. We made the right choice with U.S. Cloud. And when it comes to compliance, no one gets it better than U.S. Cloud. ISO, GDPR, ESG compliance, not just regulatory requirements for them, but they are strategic imperatives that drive operational efficiency, legal compliance, risk management, and corporate reputation. These standards foster trust and loyalty among customers and stakeholders, attract investment, and ensure long-term sustainability and success in a competitive global market. I want you to check them out. Visit uscloud.com, book a call today, find out how much your team can save. That's uscloud.com. Get on the line with them. Talk about what they can do for you. Get faster, better Microsoft support for less. uscloud.com. We thank them up so much for their support of This Week in Google. From PC Magazine, Emily Forlini is here. Mike Elgan from Mexico. Is Sargento where Sargento cheese comes from?
I doubt it. Okay. I haven't seen a cow at all here. So
you're on the Baja Peninsula, so
maybe you should try mooing.
I should try that. Yes. No, we're sort of north of Cabo San Lucas, kind of on the.
It's a pretty area. Yeah, really like
Sea of Cortez side.
Are you doing a gastronomad adventure in that area?
No, just
on vacation.
Just hanging out. Just hanging out with the family.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're having a good time. It's great to see you. His newsletter is now at machinesociety.ai and well worth the subscription. Really great stuff.
Thank you.
Also here, Paris Martineau. You can subscribe to theinformation.com and read Paris's work on the weekend. Every weekend.
That's true.
Every weekend. What was the Information's reaction to this election cycle?
I mean, we're a non-partisan organization, so no particular partisan leaning. We are, however, have reporters working to chronicle how this is going to impact the tech world.
Right.
I know a lot of my colleagues are making calls and trying to figure out how Silicon Valley is reacting to this and what this is going to mean for companies like TikTok, Meta, to, Elon Musk.
You linked to a Business Insider story that said Silicon Valley is officially grieving over Trump, but quietly gleeful over a possible.
I will say I've been making some calls today, and the thing that strikes me is how different now is from 2016 for Silicon Valley. In the wake of Trump's first victory, we saw tech companies, big and small, having outsized reactions. There was famously all hands where Google's top executives expressed their grief and frustration over Trump's victory. You had, companies granting workers time off and things like that. It could not be more different this year. You don't have this time around, as we talked about before, the CEOs of all these major companies are congratulating Trump on his victory. They aren't sending out emails to their employees reaffirming values that they think will be threatened by a new Trump administration. It's kind of business as usual.
Yeah. I have to think that in their heart of hearts, as Emily was saying, this is going to be a pro-business administration. I think there will be less regulation for sure. I think there will be less antitrust prosecutions. I think mergers and acquisitions are going to boom. And I would imagine venture capital funds will loosen up as well. The stock market's initial reaction was very positive this morning.
Well, on AI regulation, I do think there's probably less of a prospect that there will be some kind of bill. I mean, I think he said he wants to remove the executive order that's kind of tackling bias in algorithms and just responsibilities for what the chatbots produce. That probably, it either could go away or he'll just do nothing on AI. That being said, I do think that we've been doing basically nothing on AI. And if you guys followed that bill in California, Gavin Newsom and Nancy Pelosi, who are both Democrats, kind of put the kibosh on it. So it seems like both parties have been unclear what they want to do with AI, although Biden had that executive order. Now there's probably even less chance that we will do anything to make sure that AI develops responsibly. They think that will help innovation. The CEO of Anthropic put out a big post last week that says he doesn't think it will help innovation because it will just create this out of control free for all. So I don't know. What do you guys think on that? You want AI to be regulated?
Elon Musk was the signatory to that letter last year that said, halt AI for 6 months. It could be an existential threat to humankind.
Right.
Ironically, he has his own AI, Grok, and has spent a lot of money on AI. I kind of think a little cynically that Elon just wanted everybody to stop for 6 months so he could catch up.
Yeah.
Well, that's the cynical version of what lots of companies are likely to do, which is to see regulation as a barrier to entry to startups. So if you're Anthropic, if you're OpenAI, you really want to make it expensive to deal with regulatory requirements for small startups that couldn't ever afford it. And by the way, we haven't mentioned the O word, the Optimus robots.
Elon's ridiculous.
The classic O word.
He wants to make 10 billion of them. Those are AI, but like with legs and arms. To mow your lawn and babysit your kids and walk your dog. So that's another thing that's we're going to see. I mean, he's pretending like this is imminent. These army of robots is imminent. It's a few years off, but still,
he thinks we're going to Mars next year. I mean, he's not a rational
actor. It's going to take a little longer.
But again, back to the Trump administration, Donald Trump as a person is non-ideological, and he doesn't have strong feelings about AI.
That's what I think.
Or the cyber, as he calls it. And so he's going to basically hand that policy over to people who do care about those things. And again, I think J.D. Vance and Peter Thiel and
crypto czar Baron Trump.
Yes, exactly. Right. Exactly. So good with his laptop that he's going to put him in charge. So anyway, it's not about trying to reverse engineer Donald Trump. It's trying to, sort of figure out who the people are who are going to be in those positions.
Yeah. I guess because AI at this point is spending money, not making money, they're less of a interest to Donald Trump.
Should be an interest.
Should they? You think Sam Altman's thinking, Trump got elected?
I just want Sam Altman to tweet with a capital letter.
Just once. I think
if I think about it, he's got to be relieved that Kamala Harris did not get elected because that most likely would have led to more regulations of some kind.
But taxation of wealthy people. So I mean, that's the other part of it is that these very wealthy people are going to believe that Trump is going to lower their taxes. And so it's all, I'm sure they just see it as a win-win. Less regulation, lower taxes for me personally. Yeah. Beautiful.
I didn't even mention taxes. I don't think there's any clear path to federal AI regulation for either administration. Like maybe we're seeing more on the state level, like California, but I do not see any evidence that we are any closer or would have been under Kamala Harris to actually passing something.
One of the reasons, though, that Gavin Newsom vetoed it is because if California does it unilaterally, all the AI companies just move to Texas. So he even said this explicitly. I don't want to do anything to chase these guys out of California. A federal law doesn't have that, problem.
Yeah, but if you're in, that's an interesting point, because if you're in any state, that tech company will still operate with users in California, so it would have to comply. It's kind of like GDPR.
Right.
So it's still,
I think this particular law, though, was things like if you're of a certain size, you have to have a kill switch. If you're not operating in California, I don't think you would be bound by that. Maybe you would. I don't know.
Yeah. But I guess I just say that because people think that it's going to be this unregulated utopia under Trump. And I don't actually think there's a lot of evidence that it would be that different in terms of AI regulation.
Yeah, I think with AI, he doesn't have a opinion at this point.
Absolutely not.
He may have an opinion about the rivalry between the United States and China. And if he hasn't been told already, he will be told that, China's 9 months to 11 months behind the United States in AI progress. And if we overregulate our industry, they're going to catch up and surpass us. And then China will have bigger AI than we are.
And he doesn't want that.
He'll be opposed to that. So
yeah,
I think that's the dimension he will respond to probably.
I worry about his ability to compete with China in technology just based on what I've seen with EVs. China is blowing us out of the water, running laps around us on not only just the cars, but the batteries and battery technology, which is very important for the future of energy supply, running every kind of device from an iPhone to a house to a commercial building. Like, this is very important. And he has just torn down any momentum towards that. While not acknowledging how far behind the U.S. really is, and it's somehow not part of his MAGA agenda. So there's a real disconnect to me on his actual ability to compete with China.
Although I imagine he will continue the CHIPS Act, which has been a fairly successful Biden administration initiative to, although they haven't spent much money yet, but at some point fund a U.S. chips industry and to keep U.S. chip technology out of China. Actually, Taiwanese chip technology out of China as well. The technologies developed by TSMC.
If you recall, in his first term, he went through every Obama initiative and undid it because it was an Obama initiative. And for the things that were favorable, like NAFTA, he just created a new one and put his name on it. So he will be... If history is a guide, he will be undoing that. Whether he replaces it with something identical is reasonably likely, but he will undo it.
I feel like he mostly, and correct me if I'm wrong, just kind of governs by either tearing things down or setting an executive order or issuing a tariff. Like, have there been any major bills like the CHIPS Act or the IRA that came out of his administration?
Hey, never forget about Infrastructure Week, guys. Some say it's still happening to this day.
Someday. Who is happy is the crypto industry because they have money, right? And they were not unwilling to spend it. New York Times says the crypto industry spent over $130 million on the election, more even than Elon. It paid off a string of victory for congressional candidates who had expressed support for cryptocurrencies. Bernie Moreno, who's a crypto executive, beat Sherrod Brown in Ohio. It helped that he got a $40 million donation from the cryptocurrency industry in the weeks before the election.
Yeah.
The crypto army is striking, says Tyler Winklevoss. A spokesman for the leading crypto super PAC blasted out the Ohio results in an email with the subject line, "Crypto's big bet pays off."
Am I crazy, or is 130 million not that much money?
In politics, it is. It's amazingly cheap to buy government.
In the down ballot ones, I mean, it's $1 billion to get elected president.
Right.
But in the down ballot, because they're local, I think you don't have to spend quite as much.
But 130 million is a big percentage of 1 billion. I mean, that's a lot of additional money. I think that I think if you want to look at how the U.S. will be under Trump, I think we just need to look at El Salvador, right? Bukele there, of course, they legalized Bitcoin as a
they made it their currency. Exactly. They didn't want the dollar anymore.
No, they still use the dollar mostly. Most Salvadorans aren't really.
Well, that's
involved.
A measure of its failure, right? I mean, that wasn't Bukele's plan.
Right, but I mean, it's the most Bitcoin friendly country, and also the other thing about El Salvador that's notable is the roundup of all the gang members without any trial, with no representation, with no hope of an appeal, and just a massive human rights violation that also was very, very, very popular in the country because it basically went from the murder capital of the world to one of the safest countries in the world overnight. So I fear that the treatment of immigrants, undocumented immigrants, is going to be not as draconian as rounding them up and putting them in prison, but pretty draconian. And so I think that we're going to kind of look a bit like El Salvador, possibly. Combination of Bitcoin and heavy-handed law enforcement.
I know you've spent a lot of time in El.
Yeah. That's my fault. That's the wrong button.
That was an accidental moral panic.
An accidental moral panic.
Sorry about that. That's what a moral panic sounds like.
What's the interest in crypto? Because it has been objectively bad business. I mean, my crypto wallet is not looking good. I didn't put that much in it. It was an experiment, but it's still not recouped.
You just didn't put your money in the right crypto. That's all. Actually, Bitcoin's $75,000 right now.
I mean, I guess I was like that hype when everyone was talking about it. It hasn't recovered though. It has not been a steady up and up and up. It has not been a consistently good business, which is like a little surprising to me that it's back in the conversation in such a big way.
Well, there are people who made quite a bit of money, and they're making sure it stays in the conversation, like the Winklevoss twins. There is a tracker, according to the New York Times, called Stand with Crypto, an industry group that vets politicians. They say 253 pro-crypto candidates have been elected to the House of Representatives, compared to 115 anti-crypto candidates. That's a pretty good majority. In the Senate, 16 pro-crypto candidates, like Bernie Moreno, were elected, 12 anti-crypto candidates. So you've for sure got a Congress that's pro-crypto. You've got a president-elect who, as I mentioned, said, let's get rid of Gary Gensler. We don't want that, any regulation of crypto, basically, I think is what he's saying.
Kind of sounds like we need to rebrand Congress as the crypt.
Well, it's good for crypto. Although, again, Mike, you're right. A lot of the established people say, let's have some regulation because they don't want upstarts to come along.
Right.
But I think they'll get what they want. They have the best Congress money can buy.
Yeah.
Well, countries that embrace crypto have a lack of trust in their national financial institutions, and often a reason to not trust it. It could be like serious corruption, or it's very difficult for the average person to have a bank account or to transact regularly. I mean, the what's it called? Fiat money could be collapsing. So we just don't really have that here. And I hope we would never.
The strongest currency in the world.
Yeah, I hope we would never get to that point. So it's this. Some people interpret the crypto push as kind of eating into the stability of our financial system and just being more unregulated. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's supposed to be a currency. You're supposed, theoretically, proponents would tell you that it's for buying and selling things, but really people use it as an investment. It's a kind of investment, speculative investment. It's in my opinion, it's an objectionable kind of investment because you're not really feeding anybody. Like if you invest in some company that sells things or makes things or something like that, you're contributing to goods and services that people need to live their lives. Whereas Bitcoin's like the whole, cryptocurrency in general, the whole point of it is that there's no benefit to anybody except the data centers that are using to mine the stuff or whatever. And so it's really problematic in that sense. It's great for money laundering.
Ransomware's gone through the roof because of the availability of cryptocurrency.
Right. And it has to be said, and I hate to say this because I know that there are a lot of people listening who voted for Trump, no doubt, but Donald Trump himself is in fact a money launderer. He laundered money for the Iranian what do they call Revolutionary Guards. There's an incredibly detailed New Yorker piece on that from a few years ago. And he laundered money through his hotel, his buildings and stuff like that. So that bugs me a bit.
Well, he probably loves this. The Biden administration says the New York Times spent years pursuing crypto companies for violations of security laws. President-elect Trump has vowed to end that crackdown and make the United States, quote, the crypto capital of the planet, end quote.
That's what Wyoming tried to do. They were like, we're going to be the most crypto-friendly state. They were accepting startups, telling people to move in, probably giving tax breaks on crypto startups. It just flat out did not work.
One of the problems, of course, with crypto is you can donate to a political campaign anonymously, which our election rules prohibit.
Yeah.
You do have to pay taxes on crypto now. The IRS was like, no.
That may not last long either, right? We don't know.
But all these transactions can happen outside the U.S. theoretically, right? So, I don't know. It's the murkiness of it that is so problematic, I think.
Again, I don't think
that it's going to happen. Who knows?
I don't think that it's Trump's ideology. I don't think he has that much of an ideology. I think he just sees that as a money tree that he can shake or could shake during the campaign.
Yeah. He may want his very own, or weren't they talking about Trump's talking about?
He has his own cryptocurrency. Yeah. Started by two really skeezy characters. Yeah. But again, it's just another way of making money.
Maybe he'll pardon Sam Bankman-Fried.
Yeah. If Sam Bankman-Fried, by the way, one of the things he went to jail for was campaign finance violations, because he did, in fact, try to influence the midterms in 2022, donating millions to candidates on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's probably worth it for people who have systematically removed all crypto information from their life to get up to speed on that. Maybe look at how it works. Like we need to understand these things so we can properly guide them.
Yeah. Among incumbents who are out, Katie Porter, who was running for Senate in California, Adam Schiff beat her in the primary. The Times said a super PAC spent $10 million on attack ads against her. She was a crypto skeptic. Schiff has demonstrated support for crypto and digital assets, according to Stand With Crypto. John Tester lost. He expressed skepticism about crypto. And Fair Shake said that they were going to donate money to his to run against him. Apparently, they didn't ultimately do that. But Tester did lose his seat. So, yeah, I mean, I worry a little bit about that. I mean, I'm not anti-crypto per se, but I do worry that it is bringing a bunch of people into play. You know what the real problem is? Money in politics. That's really the problem.
Yes. And I think
money in politics, and also it's just never a good idea, I think, to have completely unregulated securities. We have rules around investments in the U.S. typically to protect investors. Yeah. And I think it's not generally a good idea to have a completely unregulated investment vehicle.
I also think people need to understand the nature of U.S. power globally. One of the biggest, most powerful things about the United States is our control of the international monetary systems. And so, for example, if you look at the ongoing sort of like what they call in Cuba the blockade, it's not a blockade at all. It's mostly U.S. control of financial systems that prevents them from functioning like a normal country financially. And I oppose the ongoing Cuban embargo, but that's the nature of it. And the U.S. how the U.S. U.S. sanctions is how we sort of like punish Russia for its various deeds and so on. And again, I think crypto kind of weakens that. If any sort of attention that goes to these alternative financial systems over the mainstream regulated global financial system does not work in our favor as a country. So I don't know. It's just we're in new territory now if we really go all in on Bitcoin.
It did not help Trump coin, which is now pretty much underwater. But
what is that
who
picture?
knows? there's more time for that, But yeah, I know. I think the biggest risk, of course, is people. You can now buy crypto in your 401k. You can invest in crypto, and I worry about people who are naive investors falling for the big gains that some have made. Yeah. And of course, those gains are at the cost at the cost of the investors who put money in and got out.
Yeah, I mean, you hear things like people, converted their whole 401k to crypto or a big portion of their portfolio. And it's definitely a very risky investment. And you can wipe out what you and your family are relying on real quick. So you definitely need to tread lightly if crypto is reemerging in a big way.
Yeah,
because the thing is, you're not investing in anything. You are investing in a boom and bust cycle that exists purely in a world of its own making. There is no investment underlying it.
Yeah, exactly.
You're watching This Week in Google. Paris Martineau is here. Jeff Jarvis is not, but Mike Elgan filling in, and it's so great to have you along with Emily. And I want to keep calling you Drabelbus, but it's Forlini. That's your married name, your new name, yeah? Congratulations, BC Magazine.
You.
You didn't want to hyphenate Drabelbus Forlini?
Could be fun. Could be a lot of
syllables.
Syllables.
If you grew up with my last name, you would know how it is unacceptable to add more letters to it. But yeah, the name change topic is a very interesting one. I don't suspect many people in the tech industry have gone through that since it's male dominated. But it's a big thing. So I appreciate
it's a lot of
embracing it.
From my wife, it's a lot of work to change all your documentation, and it's a big process.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has their own reasons to do it, and it is a process.
Yeah. Have you completed it, or are all your documents in the proper form?
No, I just went to the Social Security office today, for example, and requested a new card. So.
How fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that guy at the office told me he was up all night watching the election because last time, he's part of the government, right? So it's like who he's working for. And he said last time the Trump administration had long periods of shutdowns where he didn't get paid. So he was eagerly trying to see who would win to see if he was going to have payment blackouts in the next 4 years. I was like, oh, geez.
Oh, my goodness.
Oof.
I think now with the Republican House and Senate, you're not going to have those problems. But who knows? Maybe I'm being a little over-optimistic.
Has the Republican House been called yet?
No, I'm calling it right here.
Wow.
It's
breaking news,
obvious.
everyone.
You heard it here first.
It's pretty obvious that's what's going to happen. But no, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not calling it.
But there's a chance that such people will be eliminated. So there's a stated desire to dramatically reduce the size of the government. So
right. He may lose his job, but at least he won't lose his paycheck.
He'll get paid as long as he's still working there, probably.
He's still working.
I'm cool
Elon Musk has said he wants to lead the newly created Department of Governmental Efficiency, or the Doge office.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, you're kidding. He's calling it the Doge office?
He is.
Of course he is. Of course he is, Leo.
He loves that.
What else were you expecting?
I think Donald Trump might be our first meme president.
Well, he already was.
Yeah. Oh, too late. Too late. It is still, the house is still up in the air, but I don't know. It could take a long time before we know. It's going to be close. And this will be interesting to see how united Republican House and Senate really are. Because remember, the House has been a little contentious, even though it's controlled by Republicans now. It's not been an easy thing to do to get a bill through the House. So
there's more infighting. It's like the Musk-Trump breakup. We're now all just wondering how are these people going to do when they're all together? They've been fighting a different enemy, and now they're just going to be fighting each other because we have to fight someone, right?
Or maybe not.
Just be happy.
Maybe they'll all be unified.
Nah.
And there's one advantage of having a strong leader is he can set the agenda and say, "This, you're going to do this," and that's that. And I think they are fairly scared of him.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be in a great position to take all of his fans and move them against anybody who, goes against him. To what do they call it? Where they get him in the primaries.
Primary them is the verb. Yeah. How important is social media to that for Elon Musk? For Donald Trump? How does he mobilize? The
deadly Freudian slip.
How does he get them? Yeah, I know.
He called me Musk too. So
everybody's Elon Musk to me.
But
they're all Elon Musk now.
I think it's huge. I think people are getting their news from social media. So I think they're getting there's a huge chunk of the country that gets their news from Trump rallies, social media, and nowhere else. Yeah. So I think reality is shaped.
Podcasters,
yes, right, and radio. If you go into the rural areas, there's some pretty crazy radio that's been going on for 20 years. Yeah. And so that's where the information comes from. So I think it's to answer your question. I think social media is very, very large to that constituency, and it gives President Trump a huge amount of power over Congress.
And he knows. I mean, if nothing else, he's media savvy. He knows exactly how valuable that is and how important it is.
Right.
To his base.
I just hope, we're just talking so much about everyone's going to fall in line. They're all going to be, sheep to him. Everyone's going to be, just going off self-interest. That's like what we're talking about. And I think it would just be such a shame if everyone just became a follower, everyone fell in line. Like if there's one thing that Donald Trump tried to do was to emerge with a different narrative. And I feel like we need more than ever now a lot of diverse narratives. Like it cannot just be this era where all the tech companies and all the people in Congress and the whole public on social media just kind of like fall in line with whatever's being said. It's just a great disappointment.
I don't think that's going to happen socially, in society in general, but I think that's absolutely going to happen within the Republican Party.
And with business and tech, it sounds like we're right. With tech, though, that doesn't help innovation, in my opinion.
No,
we need creative thinking.
Yes. It's going to be problematic.
You're watching This Week in Google, kind of a political show today, and I apologize if that's offending you. We'll be back to our usual flim flam and jib jab next week with Paris and Jeff Jarvis. It's usually a lighter show, I have to say, but these are important things to talk about, and I think to understand, even though it's very difficult to predict, honestly, what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Our show today brought to you by 1Password. I know you know the name 1Password, one of the best password managers out there, but this is a new product from them, and it's for business. It's called Extended Access Management. Let me ask a rhetorical question, because I know the answer. Do your end users always work on company-owned machines and phones, and they always use IT-approved apps on those phones? No, of course not. You got all sorts of stuff inside your network. So how do you keep your company's data safe when it's sitting on all those unmanaged apps and devices? Well, 1Password has figured out a great solution to this question: Extended Access Management. 1Password Extended Access Management helps you secure every sign-in for every app on every device because it solves problems traditional IAM and MDM just can't touch. Imagine your company's security like the quad of a college campus. There are nice brick paths leading between the beautiful ivy-covered buildings. Those are the company-owned devices, the IT-approved apps, the managed identities, the employee identities on your network. But then there are the paths people actually use. The shortcuts that are worn through the grass that are the shortest line from building A to building B. Those are the unmanaged devices, the things people actually use, right? Shadow IT apps, non-employee identities like contractors. The problem is most security tools only work on the happy brick paths, but a lot of the security problems, they take place on the shortcuts. 1Password Extended Access Management is the first security solution that brings all these unmanaged devices, apps, and identities under your control. It assures that every user credential is strong and protected, every device is known and healthy, and every app is visible. It's security for the way we work today, now generally available to companies that use Okta and Microsoft Entra, and in beta for Google Workspace customers. What a great solution. Check it out. 1password.com/twig. That's the number 1, PASSWORD, 1password.com/twig. We thank them so much for supporting This Week in Google. I don't know. I think we've kind of mined this subject sufficiently.
I have one more question. It's not necessarily techie per se, but I have people in my family who voted for different parties, so we're kind of split and mixed. Like, that's challenging. How do you guys handle that? Or how are we going to think about that for the next 4 years?
I've experienced something similar in my family. Honestly, this is the practical advice I have. I've found it helpful to erect a firewall. Just don't talk about politics.
Your parents didn't call up and gloat?
I mean, I'm not saying any specifics of who or what might have voted for who.
It's too late. It's too late. You already told us.
I told you, Leo.
Oh, you didn't tell us on the air? Okay, I don't know who your parents voted for. I don't know. I have no idea.
But
I apologize.
Yeah, just don't talk about
bring
it.
that up.
Yeah.
But I will say that pretty much everybody in Lisa's family voted for Trump. In fact, her folks had Trump 2024 flags for the last 4 years, and bumper stickers and signs and stuff. And yeah, we did the same thing. Firewall. Her father would wear his MAGA hat into the house. And I never said anything. I just treated him as a dotty old man. But Lisa said, please don't wear that in the house. And I think that was appropriate. So we agreed. No signs, no clothing in the house. It is a challenge. But I think, honestly, I feel like now that the election's over, it should be, or it is, in fact, a less of a challenge. I'm graciously say, hey, congratulations. Your team won. Well done. If Trump hadn't won the popular vote as well, I might have been a little salty about the Electoral College. But that's had nothing to do with it. It was a fairly resounding victory. And so my attitude is we should be gracious in defeat as we would be in victory. And, I will be watching with interest over the next 4 years. If I were gay, transgender, a female, I might be a lot more worried. If I cared about reproductive rights, I might be very concerned.
Immigrant.
If I were brown, whether I were documented or not.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of hard to find a family that doesn't have one or multiple people in those categories.
Right.
So I would imagine that this is really hitting a peak today for a lot of people who are listening.
I mean, there's a lot of tears being shed, but what do you don't, Emily, you don't go to your other family, your Republican family members and say, oh, I hate you.
No, I really prioritize family. So I would always go keep the relationship.
Yeah.
But my family growing up, we were just fierce debaters. Like, I'm one of 4 kids, and around the table, like, it was dog eat dog, and I was the youngest. So like, I had to come triple prepared, like that was just how we were. Yeah. And that doesn't go away. You want to engage with other people and like, what do you really think? So we still do some of that, but we're adults now. So, with more understanding.
I think it's an opportunity for us to re-embrace constructive, friendly debate and to sort of revel in the quality of the debate, to be respectful, listen to each other, and to have debates and leave the debate with a good feeling, even if there's strong disagreement. That used to be the case. And the problem is when everybody gets so freaked out and so angry that you start resenting each other, and that's a problem. So one of the things that we can all work on is to understand when we're going in that direction, cut it off, no more politics, talk about something else, and but if we can have these conversations as constructively as we can, for a long time, it's been very popular in Silicon Valley and elsewhere to embrace stoicism, right? Yeah. And I would encourage people to drop stoicism and embrace Epicureanism. Epicurean philosophy predates stoicism and basically goes something like this. The purpose of life is happiness, and the source of happiness is friends and family and food and drinks, and forgetting about all the stressful things in the world. And that's something we're very bad at because of social media. The whole world's ills come crashing in on us all day, every day, and it stresses everybody out and divides everybody. And if to a certain extent we want to take action politically and do everything we can for people through politics, but then at the end of the day, we need to let go of all of that stuff and just have some nice Mexican beer.
Yeah.
Well said. And I also try to.
I think that's a great point.
I try to not just be a walking algorithm. Like I'm just everything I saw on social media, like hurling into the debate. Like sometimes not regurgitating arguments you see online or forgetting like, hey, my house is fine. My neighborhood is fine. Like what's happening in my community or my state, just like grounding it in real examples, not just like what this and that person posted. I also try to do that. It's more just thinking for yourself really at that point.
Yeah. And seek out opportunities. We were talking about RFK Jr. and, he may be involved in health policy and, if he's going to ban some artificial colors that are bad for kids, then I'm in favor of that. And we can all agree about stuff like that.
Yeah.
He said, why is it that our Fruit Loops in the U.S. have 19 different ingredients, where in Canada they only have 2 or 3?
Well, that's just one example. If you go through the ingredients of junk food like McDonald's and Kentucky Fried Chicken, if you go in Europe, they have different ingredients. It's slightly healthier there. And of course, the obesity rates, they're starting to fall in the U.S. actually, partly because of Ozempic.
Ozempic.
But we have been too lax about regulating dangerous food additives, and if we can start
well, it's funny because that's what RFK Jr. was all about for early in his life. Yes. Yeah. Until the brainworm.
Well, I ate a whole bowl of pasta while I was watching the live coverage last night, and I probably need a beer tonight. So I'll probably working on my own obesity.
Pasta is my comfort food. I can dig that. That's
got to still be allowed.
Yeah.
I made a giant chicken soup from scratch at the beginning of the week, and I've been going through that all week.
That's delicious.
Yeah.
We have Thanksgiving is coming. This is in the United States. This is going to be a real opportunity to practice your Epicurean philosophy.
Yes.
It's a good time to put our focus on food, for sure.
Food and family and love and not worry about politics.
Right.
It's hard. It's hard for some of us because we've so demonized the other side to drop that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sometimes it's hard to feel like you're actively engaged and working to make things better and also somehow not caring.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you do both?
Yeah. How do you do both? Yeah.
The frustrating
thing is, though. I think you can.
The frustrating thing is we all understand that the others that our political people who oppose our positions politically are getting totally different sources of information. They don't know the things we know, and we don't know the things they know because they're 2 channels of information. And so we should be encouraging everybody to change that and to broaden our source of information. And I would encourage everybody to go to allsides.com. Allsides.com is an independent organization that will take a news story and say, here's what the left says, here's what the right says, here's what the center says. And instead of getting one story about every topic, you get 3 stories about every topic from the whole perspective. So you say, oh, that's what Breitbart is saying. This is what MSNBC is saying, and here's what AP is saying, right? So it's really nice to it's really nice to be able to, and they also have matrices for not only left and right, center and moderate, left of center, right of center, but they also have them for fact checks, not fact checked. So there are sources of information on the right, for example, that are fact-checked and many that are not fact-checked and vice versa. So if you can narrow your information sources down to the fact-checked and you also get the spectrum, and I think if more people were getting their news like that, I think we'd be in a better position to understand each other.
That's cool. It's like an automatic version of what I do. Like I always go when anything happens, I go to CNN and Fox. and I compare the headlines. And if something is huge on one side and nowhere on the other, I know it's falling flat with the other audience and it's not a real point.
Right.
So that's a super cool website. It seems like it just does it in a way better way.
Somebody in our club a few days ago recommended a similar site, Mike, called ground.news that does almost exactly the same thing. In fact, it shows with a story a bar showing how each different media reported it. And it also has something really interesting, which is a blind spot feed, which is stories that if you're on one side, you might not see. So these are for the right stories that had little to no reporting on the right, and for the left, Prince William and biodegradable sneakers. The right didn't really cover that.
I did not hear about that. What a great site and what a great feature. That sounds really fantastic.
And stories on the left that have little no reporting on the left. For instance, West Virginia voters approving a constitutional ban on physician-assisted suicides. So I think this is really actually fantastic. Ground.news. So there's two different places you can go to try to get a more balance in your life. I like that idea. I subscribed to ground.news, but I'll have to take a look at all sides as well. I think I did it before the election, but I wonder, do you think there'll be less of an issue? Now, we were very worried about disinformation, Russian attempts to suborn our democracy, and so forth. It doesn't feel like that had a lot to do with this.
Well, you had the Russians spreading disinformation for Trump, and you had the Iranians spreading disinformation for Harris, and they kind of balanced each other out. But in 2016, it was all on Trump's side. China's also chimed in to a certain extent. So I think what's happening is that the different disinformation is more balanced, actually. And the other thing that the Russians were apparently preparing is if Harris had won, they were going to try to foment a lot of violence between the election and the inauguration. And they were working on all kinds of ways to do that. But I feel like it didn't change. I feel like this was a very, maybe I'm weird, but an honest vote. I think the people who voted their genuine feelings, not because they were misled or lied to or
well, you never know.
I mean, I think that's the case every year.
Yeah.
Seemingly.
A lot of misinformation or disinformation comes from within also. Like we have tons of people I see posting things just to get likes or reposting things. We all play a role. But it's often confirmation bias, right? I mean, you kind of pass on the thing that you agree with and others agree with you. And it's just it reaffirms your belief rather than changing anybody's mind. I
think we're more affected by a lack of information than misinformation or disinformation. You can talk to your average American voter and they just don't know anything about anything. It's just it's really phenomenal. They have perception. They have feelings about maybe they don't like immigration or maybe the left is too woke or whatever the feeling is, but when it gets down to policy or how the Constitution works or how the Electoral College works or how foreign policy works or what America's alliances, what their function is or how the world economic system works, no clue. And so I think that's the biggest education and self-education is or the lack thereof is the bigger problem than disinformation.
Yeah, although I'm of the opinion espoused by people like Jonathan Haidt and Kahneman that we really are led to our beliefs by emotion, and then later use our reason to justify our feelings. And I think that this was very much a feeling election, that people voted their feelings.
I mean, I think a lot of exit polls were showing that one of the top issues for voters was the economy. And I mean, if you look on paper, the economy is technically good, but people feel the economy is bad. And that matters way more.
Right.
Yeah, I think that emotions are generated by information. Like, I don't think it's completely divorced in any way. Like if you look at what Paris just said, or how many people are amped up about immigration that have just never even seen a migrant, or transgender people who have no one in their life who's transgender. It's like they're seeing information online and deciding about it and voting on it and getting a reaction from it. So it's the emotions are coming from the information always.
Yeah, I think you're right. And from a futurist point of view, I think we're entering, it's an early indication that we're entering into a world where we live in kind of reality, and we also live in virtual reality. We live in augmented reality. We live in artificial reality. People are following influencers that are CGI, and we're just in the early days of all that. And we're entering into a world where there are multiple layers to the reality that people live. Like you say, they've never seen a migrant. They walk around their neighborhood, everything's peaceful and quiet and pleasant and nice, but in their minds, based on their media exposure, the world's on fire and it's just everything's a nightmare. So so I don't know what we can do other than encourage everyone to live their actual lives and get good information and also live your actual life.
The use of transgender people in the campaign by the Trump campaign really bothered me, because I think you're right, Mike. I think very few people know very many transgender people. And if they do, they're probably okay with them because they're family members. But it played on a very strong emotion that people have of disgust or revulsion. And it got people to think, Trump was saying things like, oh, your child's going to go to school and it's going to come home a different gender. And no one could possibly believe that's the case, but it triggered a very strong emotion in people. And that's kind of what I mean. It was possible in a way to pass along disinformation that created a perception that there is bad inflation, or even though gas prices and food prices were going down, or that your school's going to send your boy home as a girl, triggered something in people, very visceral, that, I think overwhelmed any rational sense. But that was, I think that's a lesson, unfortunately, a bad lesson that our campaigns have learned that we're going to see more of in future campaigns. Well,
and again, I think in general, this ties into technology, because I think that the overriding anxiety is things are changing too fast.
Yeah.
And trans people are part of that. Immigration is part of that. All these things are changing.
I don't get it. What's
our
going
lives
on?
Too fast, and people want things changed to be slow or non-existent. Yeah. And I think that's stressing people out. And I think we in the tech industry, so the stuff I write about the stuff that changes culture. So the basic formulation for my newsletter is basically it's cyberpunk nonfiction. I think late 20th century cyberpunk.
I love it.
Is the best description of where we're at now in technology and where we're going.
We love that stuff, but we're unique.
I can imagine that my newsletter would be super stressful for people, because I'm talking about chip and brain implants and AI artificial limbs and all this kind of crazy cyberpunk type stuff, which is the world we're living in. So the world is the change that we go through is going to keep accelerating, and this will keep stressing people out because a lot of people don't like the pace of change. That's the biggest stressor, I think.
I think people don't understand. And there's, what's that? I saw something. It was like, everything is a conspiracy theory when you don't know how anything works.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that
all magic.
Right. It's just ripe to use or wield, like you said, Leo, about trans people. You don't understand it. I will wield that in my campaign, and I will sow fear and mistrust rather than understanding. And so if you approach every change that way, of course, you're going to be kind of dominated and ruled by it. You don't know even what you're talking about, and you're going off fumes.
Right. Right. You're watching This Week in Google with a very fine panel. I appreciate the support we get from our fans, especially from people in the club. I want to encourage you to join Club TWiT if you're not already a member. It's $7 a month. We try to keep the price really affordable. You can give more, by the way. You don't have to stop at $7, but that's kind of the base. Although We have added a few features to make it more enticing. For instance, your first 2 weeks are free. So if you're wondering what's it like in the club, this is a great way to find out. Your first 2 weeks free. Also, you'll get a little code when you join that you could put on your social media or give to friends or make a billboard that you put up on the highway. And for everybody who joins the club from that code, you get a free month. So a club could be less than $7. It could be free if you do it right, if you use all your skills to promote it. We want you to be in the club for a number of reasons. First of all, it really helps us keep the lights on. We've had to shrink as the podcast industry has kind of rejiggered. It's the celebrities and the influencers who are getting the ad dollars these days, the YouTubers. Not so much shows like ours that have been around for a long time that are long and thoughtful and boring. We don't get the ad dollars that those do. And as a result, we need to go to you. If you like what you hear on maybe not this show in particular, but if you like the shows, if you like the content we're producing, if you want to join a really great community of smart people in our Club TWiT Discord, you do get ad-free versions of all the shows. So that's another reason to join. You don't ever have to hear another ad like this. You also get the TWiT Plus feed, which has events that we do in the Club TWiT Discord. We stream those live often so everybody can watch, like our coffee episodes, Stacy's Book Club, Micah's Crafting Corner. But they also go on the TWiT Plus feed for people who can't watch live, and our club members get access to that. So there are a lot of benefits. There's more even. I want you to go to twit.tv/clubtwit, take a look, and see if it sounds like something you'd like to do. You can try it for 2 weeks free. twit.tv/clubtwit. I do want to encourage you to consider it, though, because it's what's keeping us going. And we'd like to keep going.
And if I can chime in, if you're a club member, as I am, you don't have to get the ad-free version. You can get the ad version as well, because I like the ads. The advertised products are great. You'll learn new things about 1Password, for example, new products and so on. You can get the ads too. The other thing is, don't call it shrinking, Leo. Call it the Department of Podcasting Efficiency. Dope.
We had Elon Musk come and he said, this has to go and this has to go. And that studio, it was true. I mean, it's kind of crazy to have a studio in this day and age when you can podcast from your laptop anywhere. Mike's sitting outside on the balcony.
TWiT is now hardcore.
Yeah,
right.
We've gone hardcore. That's it. And
you should be here, Leo. You should be here doing the show. What are you doing up there?
I wish I were. We have a team of 11 people who work very hard to make it happen. And Gizmo, that makes it 12. Hello,
and
Gizmo.
One cat who I'm trying to get to meow into the microphone.
You look so excited.
She's upset that I made her sit up instead of stay on my lap. She's going to show you her butt now.
She really is a cuddle munchkin. I'm kind of amazed.
She is.
Yeah.
She just knows it's after 6 p.m. where I am, and that this is the time in which I should be playing with her. So she's going to bother me until I do it.
I'm ready to wrap this up so that Gizmo can get lunch or dinner. Is there anything
all of the above, ideally? All
three at the same time. Is there, before we get to our picks of the week, is there anything more that do you think we should talk about in our look ahead to January 2025?
I mean, this isn't really, I guess, January 2025, but I was sad to see that the Mozilla Foundation laid off 30% of staff.
Oh, yeah. I worry about that so much. I use the Firefox browser. I really think we need to have a non-Google browser in the world.
Even if it's funded entirely by Google.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of it.
Mozilla.
The Mozilla.
Using that?
I use Firefox. Yes, Firefox. It's very good.
Yeah, people like Firefox.
I couldn't care less if Firefox left the planet.
You don't want.
Whoa,
okay, I'll argue against
the Firefox boys are going to come at you.
I don't use it. Once you locked into your browser, that's what you use. So I couldn't care.
Google huge power because everything else is based on Chrome. As an example, Google has decided to deprecate their Manifest v2 and move to Manifest v3 for ostensibly security reasons. But what it ends up doing is makes it very difficult for ad blockers to run.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to leave Google Chrome.
Honestly,
where are you going to go?
Firefox. That's why you need an alternative, because Brave is Chromium based.
Arc.
Edge is Chromium based. Arc, which I really like, is Chromium based.
Yep.
And so they really are going to have to do what Google says. Not to mention that Google's real business is ads. And so their browser is always going to be better at collecting information about you. And
I'm just going to do everything in Microsoft Paint after the election.
I think that's really smart. I think Clippy should just have us do everything.
Yeah.
We should have a full Clippy browser.
Yeah. When I'm feeling hardcore, it'll be Notepad.
Anyway, yeah, it's sad to say here, the Mozilla Foundation, which is the nonprofit arm of Mozilla, laid off 30% of its employees. They say they face a, quote, relentless onslaught of change. I know how that feels. They're reorganizing teams. The Mozilla Foundation said they had 60 employees a couple of years ago. Although, according to some people with knowledge of the matter, says TechCrunch, it was closer to 120 the times of layoffs. So honestly, if they went in 3 years from 60 to 120, they doubled in size. Cutting back to 90 isn't necessarily, I mean, I feel bad for the 30 people who were affected, but
yeah.
I mean, I think it just also shows that they're changing the way they're operating a bit.
Right.
It's no longer a world where they see themselves continuing to expand at this rate.
I do believe it's important that Firefox succeed and continue just as an alternative to a world that's Chrome-based.
Well, I'll eat my words.
Yeah, you don't want to. For instance, do you use an ad blocker, Emily?
I do sometimes. I actually turned it back on to support all the publications that I surf all day because, like, I'm writing articles and researching all day. So I felt
you're out there just raw dogging the internet.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough.
I have to admit, my excuse for using the ad blocker is because I'm showing pages on the screen like this TechCrunch page, and I don't want a bunch of ads cluttering up what I'm showing. But I also continue to use it when I'm not on the air. So maybe that's...
Well, it just makes... I just really appreciate a physical book, or I even have print magazines. It is the most pure... calming experience. Like, could not recommend it enough. Another good probably fodder for soothing post-election, just to get off the internet. Yeah. I have a very large, long science fiction book I started just because I knew I would need some distraction. Video games are good for that too. I think what was Animal Crossing? I used Animal Crossing to relieve the relentless monotony of COVID. The COVID quarantine, and I think I might go back to it. I imagine.
Leo, we've got to do our Baldur's Gate 3 run.
Oh, there was some thought about doing it tomorrow. I have it on my laptop. Well, no, we wouldn't do it without you. You're our team leader. I don't know if I'm ready to do it tomorrow.
Well, I can't do it tomorrow.
Okay.
But if I've given advance notice,
is Thursday a bad day for you to do that? To do something like that?
I mean, any weekday.
You have a job.
I do have a job, but I can find some time. We'll see.
Jessica, I have to go
Just
home
let me
and play
know.
Baldur's
I have to go play
Gate.
Baldur's Gate 3. I don't know. No, probably not going to work. But I am going to be off a couple days around the holidays. So I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
So are you guys going to live stream this? You could probably make some
money. So that was the idea. Well, we don't need to make money. We have the club. That was the idea, to do a club event. All of the club shows are moving, or the ones I do are going to move to Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, and because of staffing. And we do a lot of little things in the club like that, like the coffee show and stuff. So, and Paris is a big Baldur's Gate 3 person. I find it difficult. I think, wasn't Anthony Nielsen going to join our party? And then Joe from the Discord.
Benito.
And Benito too. Oh, how big a party can you have?
I think 4.
4, yeah.
So
we'll swap some people around.
Wait, no, we can have Ant Nielsen, Benito, you, and me. How about that? And then should I be the healer? Because somebody needs to be the healer, and I want to be the healer.
Someone does. That could be you.
Absolutely be the healer.
Nobody wants to be the healer, do they?
You can be a cleric.
I feel like
you
Leo's
can play
be the
Shadowheart.
That just also stirs the pot.
Yeah, right.
Creates things to heal.
I'm not fixing you.
Yeah.
I'm not fixing you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. The only fixes issues.
I've got one spell slot. I do think we need to get Leo a controller if he's going to play, because I think he'll be confused trying to play it on Mac. I think that
I've been trying to play it on the keyboard and mouse.
The controls on the keyboard are less intuitive than the controller.
I have controllers. Should I use an Xbox joystick style controller? Okay.
That works.
I have plenty of those that I can use with the Mac.
Oh yeah, I forget you're a gamer.
Not a gamer. Gamers would say I'm not a gamer, although I have a game I like to play, but that doesn't count. What are we doing next, Mike Elgan, on the Gastronomad tours?
Well, next is Oaxaca again in December, and
I'll never forget that.
We have some new ones coming up, which is Sicily. We have 2 Sicily experiences. In 2025. And it was funny because, Amir, we were talking about election stuff and politics and how everybody's upset and all that kind of stuff. And Amir was saying, the world needs us now more than ever. Yes. What people really need is to go on an extraordinary journey of food and wine and go back in time to where things are simple and you're sitting around a table with people in some beautiful foreign country having delicious food, pasta, for example, in the Italian experience. And so, so we've got a full deck with experiences. I would encourage people to, if you've been thinking about it for a long time, to sign up soon, because we're getting to the point where there's so much word of mouth on these experiences that they're filling up like way in advance. So I would encourage everybody to sign up. Don't wait. Send me an email if you're just even thinking about it, because the Gastronomad experiences are just, you need this, you deserved it, and you should join us. So
where in Sicily are you going to be?
We're going to be mostly centered around Etna, which has a spectacular wine country around the eastern half of the volcano. Like halfway up the volcano is like there's this half ring of wineries, and the food and the wine culture around Etna is spectacular. And then we'll go a little bit further from that, but that's another world, and I would encourage everybody. It's a bucket list item, and you really deserve to experience that. It's beautiful there.
I can endorse it. Lisa and I did the Oaxaca experience when you did it during the Day of the Dead.
Yes,
and it changed our lives. We had an ofrenda for the Day of the Dead this year.
Fantastic,
one of those
wonderful.
Altars, and I printed out pictures of some of our ancestors.
Yeah,
and,
wonderful.
It was really nice.
That's a great concept, and we Americans should embrace Day of the Dead.
I agree. They do in Petaluma. We have Day of the Dead is a big deal in Petaluma, which is nice.
Fantastic.
All right, good. Sicily. Let's all meet there next.
Yes.
Great.
See you there.
We're going to take a little break. When we come back, picks of the week. You're watching This Week in Google. I don't know, Emily, do you know about the picks of the week? Have we had that conversation?
I don't think so, but we'll run with it. What is it?
Think about something. I'll give you some time. Mike and Paris will do theirs, and just think about something. It could be a book, a movie.
It's something you want to stump for a minute or two. It's something like I've done every pick from like a website I like to a product I'm using to going to a corn maze with your friends to, I have a 2-parter this week. My first one is this website, the New York Times Tech Guild put together. They're on strike right now. They've asked people as part of it to pause your use of New York Times Games, because they're the ones that maintain that, and they're currently on a protected labor strike because they've been trying to get a contract for a lot. But in order for you to get your fix while also standing with workers, they've put together their own strike versions of New York Times Games that are updated every day. They've got Strikle, the Wordle one. They've got Connected, a connections version. They've got a whole word search. It's all little fun stuff, and it updates every day.
Good for them. Yeah, they went on strike right before the election. And a friend of mine, Daniel, who is on our microblog, said, I can't remember what Daniel had, like 700 day Wordle streak, and he was going to break his streak just to support the guild. So good on him.
Yeah.
But you don't have to, you can break your streak, but not give up your Jones.
Your gaming.
They have Connected. They have word search. They even have Frogger 8th Avenue, where you can jump across 8th Avenue trying to get to the Times building. Not an easy
Yeah,
thing
which
to
is
do.
frankly a game we all need.
Yes.
And the last thing I want to plug is the Florida Access Network. It's a group that provides financial and logistical support to women seeking abortion services in Florida who just declined to pass a bill that would have extended the right for abortion access.
This
to
really
24
frustrated me
weeks.
because they got 57% of the vote
But in Florida, you need 60%
it's a
for it to be
constitutional
ratified.
amendment. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this would have enshrined the right to abortion in Florida, where, of course, it is illegal. And it
After
failed.
6 weeks.
After
yeah.
6 weeks, yeah. It failed because they didn't quite get to, but you 57%.
I mean, they
of people
still
in Florida support
got,
it.
more than half.
So
It's
come on.
unfortunate.
What
Well,
is it gonna
I
take?
figure one way to, support people who want to express their right to choose legally in a legal state is by supporting organizations like this that help them do it. So
Florida Access Network at flaccessnetwork.org. And it's about access to reproductive health. I don't think that that's too much to ask. Good. Thank you. And I'm glad you could promote that guild site. I didn't know about that. That's great. I'll have to tell Daniel Punkass about that. Mike Elgan, your pick of the week, my friend.
Well, so I am enjoying this site called WebCheck, which basically is designed for open source intelligence. It reveals every possible thing that can be known about a website all at once in just a few seconds. All the information can be found if you use a combination of other services, but to the best of my knowledge, this site is the most thorough in exposing every single thing there is to know. And we need open source intelligence in journalism now more than ever, or even among the technical lay public, because there's a lot of shady dealings going on, and you can get clues and information about a website.
Wow.
And put in the address.
Like, for instance, I didn't know our server was located in Dublin, Ohio.
There you go.
That's quite a revelation.
Yeah, right. So it's a great site. It's a fun site, and it's shocking how much information it just reveals on a single page. So it's a lot of fun, and so I encourage everybody to check it out.
web-check.xyz.
That's it.
And it's just fun to do it.
Yeah.
Frankly, that's cool. All right, Emily, by now you have some idea of what we're talking about. Emily Forlini from the fabulous PC Magazine, your pick of the week.
All right, well, these are very altruistic and lovely picks.
No, pick something really self-centered here. Pasta.
pick something
I
stupid.
have something really self-centered and stupid. So I am going to solicit some feedback on a social media account that I'm thinking about starting.
Oh.
And I would like to know what you guys think about it.
Okay.
So what Mike was saying, my kind of guilty reading pleasure is like explorer firsthand accounts. Like from throughout history, like people who explored and like did something crazy. And
I love them. I love them so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like a historically focused explorer tales account, basically, that just kind of like sparks people's imagination and has like little excerpts from those writings.
This is what the internet is so great. Is just some weird, obsessive thing that you're really into and sharing it with people, and they go, wow, that's great. Now, where would you put this? On Threads, on Blue Sky, on X? Where would you put this?
That's the really hard question. It's like so much easier to just put it on Twitter or something because it's text, just paste the text, right? But I don't feel like that's the right platform. If I can get it together.
I do think Blue Sky would like it.
Really?
Here's what I'm going to suggest. I got a tip for you.
Yeah, please.
If you use an iPhone.
I do.
There is an app called Croissant. It is a buttery smooth app that lets you post to Blue Sky, Mastodon, and Threads.
Oh, cool.
What?
All at the same time. I would suggest doing it on Mastodon too, because there are a lot of history nerds on Mastodon.
Yeah,
who
that's
would
what I
love
need
it.
to find.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about this app, which is, I can't remember, it's $5 or something. I use it all the time, is you can post the same content, exact same content once on all three sites. So it's very nicely done. It does allow you to attach images, create threads. You can have multiple accounts. I use it to post to all three. Notice no X, probably because more having to do with the cost of the X API than anything else.
Yeah, well, I want somewhere that's just more, for pleasure, for interest. Like it doesn't need to be in the mix on the politics or anything. It's meant to be escapist for sure.
You know, it's always a challenge. I asked Cory Doctorow why he's still on X. And he says, because that's where all my friends are.
Right.
He likened it, this was on TWiT a couple of weeks ago, to the town in Fiddler on the Roof. What is that, Anatevka? Because he said, you know, every few years the Cossacks would come and beat the crap out of everybody in Anatevka, but they wouldn't leave because that's where their family and friends were. But that's the sad thing about Fiddler on the Roof. At the end, the Tsar actually throws them out and forces them to leave. But they didn't leave until they had to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so I guarantee you that all his friends are not still on X. Most
are not. But still,
there's a slow bleed of our friends on, and I won't use the thing, but why not on Substack, Medium, or like Ghost or something like that?
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
If you're good at something, never do it for free, according to the Joker.
Yeah.
He's only made great choices.
Don't you need to have like some advertising on social media and then drive them to the Substack?
Yeah, do both. Yes.
So it'd be like snippets, but then the Substack would be the full writing and then like comments on it, because there's also interesting stuff like problematic narratives about, you know, the quote natives, and there's like all kinds of stuff that pops up. Yeah. So that could be discussed.
Here's something in between a ghost blog and social media, which is called microblog. I don't know if you're familiar with micro.blog. Manton Reese made a really cool site. It hasn't had the uptake that I would like to see. My blog's on there, but there's also a timeline of short posts that you could put on there. So you could write long, as I do, long posts.
Microblog? All right. Right.
Micro.blog. So I write long posts there, but also you can have short posts. And it is a Mastodon I guess Mastodon. It's an activity pub endpoint. So you also get a Mastodon account, and you can people can follow you from Mastodon, which means they can follow you also from Threads. So microblog is kind of interesting. The real problem with all of this is discovery, and that's where Twitter, I'm sorry to say, still has the advantage.
Right.
People will find you on Twitter.
I have tens of thousands of followers on X, and I have 11,000 on Mastodon, and the engagement is vastly higher on Mastodon.
Isn't that interesting?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Our web engineer Patrick has posted in Discord that TWiT's posts get much better engagement on Blue Sky than X, even though we have a fraction of the followers.
I mean, my posts on Twitter get very little action. I get tons of views on TikToks, tons of likes, and they're like not even that great. I mean, some platforms, it's like, it feels like you're giving it out for free. If everyone's there in the right community, you don't even have to work hard.
I mean, if you kind of sort of want to get off X, the way to get off X is to go into the things that you've promoted of your own writing and look at how much traffic it drove to those links. And you'll see that it's 3 or 5. It rounds to 0, and and then you come to the conclusions like, why am I doing this? Why am I holding my nose and being on Elon Musk's platform when it's not driving any traffic?
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I need for my idea is ideas about stories to cover. So if anyone wants to message me on Instagram or TikTok or X with your favorite Discovery Explorer stories, I will write them down and put them on this future account.
Nice.
Exciting.
We follow you on Twitter, and then you would announce it there. Would that be a good way?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I want to do it anonymously. I kind of like the idea of like pretending I'm some kind of historical.
Oh, you want to be
bard.
like horse ebooks, right? You would just want to be. Yeah. No one knows.
Everybody wants to be horse ebooks.
We'll see. This was a big step. I got it out there. Some interest. Maybe I'll do it.
Yeah.
And you're not.
I think it's a great idea.
There's no way to monetize it. You're not. It's not going to promote your
fame.
It a book.
Make it a book.
I do think it could be a
horse
compilation
ebook.
Yes.
I could probably easily self-publish a compilation book
Yes.
of all my favorite.
And why not?
Why that I can't swear it. Not.
F not.
Steve Martin, who was a very active Twitter user and very funny Twitter user, actually did make a book out of his tweets. And there's a little bit of a tenuous twig connection, because when he was trying to compile all of his past tweets, he's good at the one-liner. They're hysterical. He asked for help, and our former host helped him out. I've forgotten her name now, which is terrible.
Oh no,
You know
Leo.
what I'm talking about?
Stacy?
Election
Not
brain.
Before Stacy, Gina Trapani.
Gina?
Yeah. She had written a tool that in the old days of Twitter could track all your posts and stuff and congregate. The API broke that very quickly, but Steve
Get
wrote
Steve on Twig, Leo.
I can ask. I wonder if he's kind of busy with this TV show he does, but
Yeah, it doesn't seem as important as talking about Google and other things.
But he plays a
3 hours.
podcaster, which I wonder if
isn't that fun?
Yeah,
Isn't that
he's
funny?
got to do some work in the content mines to get into scene.
it's research for him.
The book came out in 2012, so it's been a while. It was called The 10, Make That 9 Habits of Very Organized People. Make that 10. The tweets of Steve Martin. And it was very, very funny. Gosh, I can't believe it was so long. 12 years ago. Wow.
Well, that's a lot cooler of a book than my proposed book, but we'll see.
Well, but that's the point, is that you can do that, right? You can make something out of that.
You can do it. I'm going to partner with Mike, and we're going to give out the book for free to your gastronomad participants.
Yes, absolutely.
And see where
Brilliant.
that goes.
Because they are explorers, all of them.
That's
They're
right.
explorers. They
Right.
want the best stories. They want to make them themselves.
Yeah.
So we'll
It's
team
an
up.
Epicurean
Brilliant.
celebration.
That's right.
Emily Forlini, it's so great to have you on with your new name. You may remember her as Emily Drybelbis, but we still think you're fantastic. Either way, PCMag.com. She is now Emily Forlini on X, and soon will be, look for I know you call yourself Amundsen Tweets or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have
Yeah.
to figure it out. That's the next step. So next time we meet, we'll do a name brainstorm.
That's a great idea. Thank you, Emily. It's great to see you.
Yes, it was a lot of fun.
Yay. Mike Elgan, man, you always make me jealous. The sun is going down in Baja.
Yes,
It's a beautiful day.
we have margaritas.
Oh,
But you're
my
having
God.
a Baja blast.
That's right.
Every
That's the
time
real
you've left
Baja
the camera,
Blast.
have you been sipping margarita?
No, I started with beer, and then somebody brought me a margarita, and so it
My
happens. It
goodness.
happens.
I got to get way more chill on these episodes.
Yes.
What am I doing?
Well, we're going to be here
Trying
for
to be
another week, so
smart.
come join us. We got plenty of room here.
Man. Oh, how
Who
wonderful.
You're
tries
all
to
invited.
cite sources? Like, it's-
Doesn't it look beautiful? Look at that. MachineSociety.ai, gastronomad.net. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention HelloChatterbox.com.
Yes, thank you.
Because
Yes, my
that
son
is
Kevin's company, which it's a smart speaker that children build 8 years and up. A lot of adults build it too. And then it has plugs into OpenAI. It has plugs into Wolfram Alpha. It has APIs into all kinds of information sources, and you can basically teach it to do anything. It's very private. It's the only COPPA compliant smart speaker for schools. And if you're interested in learning about AI, learning about smart speakers, want a smart speaker, have a child that wants to do a really intelligent project, it's the perfect product. So I would encourage that. Thank you for letting me plug that.
Oh, I love Kevin, and I'm really glad we could.
Yeah, and he's doing great with it. It's
Good.
he's selling into a lot of schools around the world. So
It's such a good idea. Such a good idea, especially now that generative AI is all the rage. It's good for kids.
you don't want AI to be a black box.
No.
You want kids to understand it and to understand how to control it.
That's exactly right. Paris Martineau and Gizmo, we thank you so much for being here. Paris writes for The Information. She's always looking for a juicy scoop. You can send them to her Signal, but don't use your work phone. Martineau.01. Subscribe
And
to The Information.
a mild call out. If you work for a major tech company or a minor one, reach out to me in my signal, Martineau.01. I'm kind of looking into how tech companies are responding or not responding to the election this year in comparison to cycles past. So kind of trying to get just a broad view from inside.
After 2016, I wrote a long thing that we sent to all the team. That wasn't, I should see if I could find it. It's probably in our Slack somewhere. But that was saying, look, we're going to take the high road, and we're not going to get political on this, but we have the right to defend ourselves against racism or bias of any kind. And this time, I don't know if it's a smaller team. I think we all understand that, but Lisa said you should say something. So I guess I'll have to put out a little bit of a smaller post.
I mean, that's what I think is interesting is many companies are not said something
it's not our first
8 years ago are not doing it now.
Paris, I would be interesting if you could find some examples of tech companies, especially major tech CEOs who are not as happy as they appear. Because I feel like that's the narrative is like people were more left in 2016 or in the past, and now Silicon Valley has gone right. And so I don't know if I 100% believe that yet. So I think there's a lot of truth to it, but if you could find any counterpoint, I would be very interested.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Yeah. Of course, if they're not going to say it in public, maybe they'll say
that's why we got to get juicy scoops in our DMs.
Yeah.
Hey, reach out to me. You know where to find me. Signal, Martineau.01.
Get over there if you got something to say.
I'm more injudicious than most company executives. I don't give a damn. That's why we did this show. So there. What are you gonna do to me, Donnie? So thank you all for being here. No, I think it's good to take the high road to talk like adults and discuss it and do what we can and live the Epicurean life.
Yes.
I'm gonna go get a burrito. Thank you, Paris. Thank you, Mike.
Too.
Thank you, Emily. Good.
You, Leo.
Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, burritos.
Yes.
Burritos are good.
Like we're ending on a rainbows and sparkles.
And burritos.
And burritos.
Burritos.
You're all stars in the darkness.
Burritos still exist. They're nonpartisan.
Burritos. I actually have
for
one
now.
I've been eating one the whole show.
Oh, you.
Wait, you've been eating a burrito and Mike's been drinking?
You didn't know that was an option, did you?
I mean, I have this seltzer
and what are you
water,
drinking, Paris? Is that
Paris
rum?
is drinking straight vodka.
No, I'm drinking red vermouth, originally on the rocks, but
she's a hipster.
Now it's
I'm such a rookie. Like, what am I doing?
Listen, I don't normally drink during this show, but it felt like it was called
appropriate.
If I was going to have to talk about the election for God knows how many hours, I was like, well.
Well, your long nightmare is over. Thank you, Paris. Thank you, Mike.
The perfect way to end a podcast.
Your long nightmare is over. We do Twig every Wednesday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2200 UTC, because we are now on Standard Time. You can watch us live on 8 different platforms. We stream live to Discord for our club members, of course, but also YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, X.com, and Kick. You pick the one that matches your political persuasion and watch us there. That's fine. But that is only during the show. After the fact, you have to watch by downloading a copy of the episode, whether it's from our website, twit.tv/twig, or there is a YouTube channel dedicated to This Week in Google, which is a great way to share clips. If you see something you want to tell somebody about, you can clip it on YouTube. That's a very easy way to share it. But best way to listen to the show, I think, or watch, we have audio and video, is to subscribe in your favorite podcast player. That way you get it automatically the minute it's available. Links at the website, twit.tv/twig. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to our club members for making it possible. We will see you next week on This Week in Google. Bye-bye.